Okay, I want to try again to demystify the concept of meaning, or the concept of concept. I want to bring language down into a life world that is not understood in terms of dualism. So I've discussed this before in videos called, for instance, the presence and quality of meaning. So I'm not denying the existence of meaning, but I'm trying to approach meaning without the theological or dualistic notion of the sign. So let's start with the idea of a paraphrase. So I claim that to paraphrase is to pair a phrase. Now, if you look into the etymology of the word paraphrase, you can trace it back to the Greek, and it breaks down to beside, to tell, or to tell beside, right? So to paraphrase is to tell beside. So we can think of parallel. So I don't want to embrace Sellers' dualism, but his inferential role, semantics, is in the direction that I want to go. And it's in the direction of the idea of meaning as use, which Wittgenstein made famous. But if we just say that meaning is use, to me that's not enough. It sounds profound, maybe it is profound, but it has to be unfolded. We have to get a grip on structure. So Sellers uses this example. Snow is white functions in English, or in the English-speaking community, as Schnee ist weiß functions in the German-speaking community. Approximately. Every sound act is a unique and non-repeatable event in the world. So we're ignoring all kinds of complexity, right? There are so many ways you can pronounce these phrases, so many contexts. It's staggering. But, approximately, snow is white does the same job as Schnee ist weiß. Now that is sort of across two languages. If we're just in English, saying what's up is blurry equivalent to how's it going. So when I say blurry equivalent, I'm talking about blurry equivalence classes. So the theological understanding of the sign thinks of meaning as something that is in the head of the subject, in the soul, in the spirit. And the general conception of a human being is a kind of ghost in the machine, right? Famously critiqued by philosophers, but this critique didn't quite take, or, many of us have not absorbed it, and maybe we don't want to absorb it. But I'm interested in this, a life world realism, you might say. So where is meaning if it's not in the head? So for the theological notion of the sign, which is still in Saussure to some degree, even though he starts to break it down, there's the signified, which is, the heavenly meaning, the ghost stuff, meaning, and then the signifier, that would be sound. Now, depending on your ontology, your philosophy, you might think that the body or the flesh of the sign is made out of some kind of pure physicality. But my gripe with the theological notion of the sign and dualism in general is it kind of separates the world into an internal meaning stuff, and then it leaves the external world meaningless. So you might say, people would call this scientism. It's almost like you're taking a broom and you have this very rich and complex life world, and you're sweeping everything to the left or the right, and you think of these two categories as what things are made of. And then even in Sellers, as far as I understood him, he said we had access to our own sensations. You might say that I don't believe in sensations, or I think that the term sensations is a confusing way to talk about the quality of objects, right? The redness of the apple, the sound of the saxophone. So the manifestation of the apple, the manifestation of the saxophone, it gets introjected or internalized, and then we invent these internal entities. So I think that Sellers, even though he's brilliant, he misses what I call the hard problem of the physical.